as the contractor, whatever you want to be built, what do you factor? While answering that questions, I will tell whoever is watching, wherever we are, it is not the best place or the best view that you would have wanted. But we chose this bare land because there is something that I want you to learn. Maybe tell us, you as a contractor, what do you factor in when unalipisha pesa yako?
That's a very good question, because the costs many times is what the client will be looking at.
Sure.
There are many factors that would make a construction to be higher or lower. First, the choice of land, where your piece of land is, where you want to put either your home or whatever you're going to build. When you're building in a flat area, it will be less costly than when you're putting up a house in a place where there is a gradient, because you're going to use more materials to fill that space, to bring the level of the house to be at level to the ground that is desired. So you spend more money on the foundation, and again it may require you to reinforce more depending on the type of soil. So whatever sometimes we some things are determined on site, because we don't know the kind of soil before we excavate. That is why whenever when you get a drawing, some things are written there, determined on site. For example, the depth of the foundation, up to where you get to a stable ground, which we call the undisturbed soil. That is where you know you're going to place your foundation. So if you're building in a hilly place, of course you're going to use more material. You're going to find out, you're going to navigate to make sure that the house is stable and you have the level that you need. So the ground is one of the factors that are going to determine the cost, or maybe make the cost change here and there. The other thing is the availability of material. How easily is it to access that piece of land? If you compare a land which is near to a tarmac road or something that is motorable, it's going to take lesser cost to bring in the materials. So transport is a factor that we consider when we are doing costing in construction. Availability of other facilities, services, for example, water, whether it's water connected on site, or are we going to get other means to bring water to site? If we need electricity, do we have electricity on site, or are we going to use generator for purposes of cutting? So all those items are going to determine the cost of the building that we are doing.
So it is not about materials?
Not really about materials, because the materials, mainly materials from the source is the same price. For example, if you're buying cement from a certain shop, you get the same price. But where you transport that cement to is going to vary,
Sure.
depending on the distance and how accessible the site is. So the cost of materials will remain the same, but those other the added costs due to the challenges that you're going to face are going to change the cost of the building.
So assuming now I brought you here, this is my land, I want to build a two-bedroom house.
Yes.
What would my cost, and what do you consider while costing your how you be paid?
Now, before when you come to costing, there are other things that we're going to consider. First, we do the profile. We profile the house. Where is our house going to face? Which side is our house going to face? Where are we going to get our gate from? So you have to do a site plan. This is where we plan that we put the house at this point. You're parking at another point. You have some space for green area. You have a water tower somewhere else. You have another structure, maybe for staff or something like that, and also for future development.
That when you're assuming that I have maybe a bigger land, but if a building is just it's just a plot where I want to build.
Whichever, whether small or big, you must have a site plan, because you're going to look at the drainage. How are you going to deal with the storm water? Is the place connected to sewer or not? If not, where are you going to do your biodigester or waste management system? How is it going to flow? Of course, it has to flow from the higher side to the lower side. So all those are the considerations that you have to put in place before you start building. The other thing, it comes very at the end, when the building is complete, some things that are omitted at the initial stage, you cannot change. For example, things like lighting. A good house, I would say, is one that has proper natural lighting, which means you have to consider where is the sunrise, where is the sunset, okay? So that the house is not against, okay? You don't have to put on lights every time, even during daytime.
Sure.
You don't have to use energy. I mean, you don't have to use electricity to power the house. Should be the ideal situation is where it is naturally lit.
Sure.
And once you've constructed, if you didn't consider that at the initial stage, you cannot change. You cannot change because when the house is up, so there's little that you can do. So proper planning of the piece of land that you're putting your house is a must. Is a must. Yes.
So I'll get back to my question. I have brought you here. This is a land.
Yes.
What will you consider now looking at this land where we are now?
For example, if I look at this land, first I'll establish the boundaries of your land, because you don't want to get into someone else's land.
Sure.
Once we establish the boundaries, second, I'll consider how am I going to access this land, which is the most convenient, which is the most practical way to do the gate from, so that it will be, user friendly.
Sure.
Then I'll consider lighting, as I told you earlier. And now I position the house, okay? The orientation of the house, where the house is going to face.
Sure.
I'm going to consider. Then definitely we can see we have trees. The space is not level. So I'll look at how I'm going to level where I'm going to put the house. And of course, considering even after the house is complete, we will need the aesthetics. We will need to do garden.
What are those?
The aesthetics are the beauty of a construction when you look by your eye. Because in engineering, we mainly consider three things. The structural integrity, that the house is going to stand on its own for 100 years plus, against all odds. That's all weather and stuff like that. Cost that you're going to use to build that house, and the aesthetics, the beauty. So I would consider in this land where I'm going to put my flowers. Depending on the kind of house, where I put it at the elevated point so that I can have an advantage of viewing because you can see there are so many trees around. So I would consider all those factors before I start any excavations or doing anything to put up the house.
And that is the initial plan
That's the initial process
before even we start building.
before you start building, yes.
So I'll say thank you for your time.
Most welcome.
We shall come again. Now, after the initial process that you have explained to us, we shall still dig deeper to understand what are the roles of the quantity surveyor. You call them contractor. There is someone else,
The architect.
the architect. Why do we have all these people? Siakue mmoja tu kama huko mashinani.
No, you cannot be. You see, it's a specific. In this industry, there are various disciplines or the areas of specialization. So you cannot be a master of everything. You master more and more about less and less, as they say.